We continue our team coverage now. We also got expert analysis on what happened today and actually the latest developments. We listen now to Dr. Richard Weinblatt, manager of the Police Academy for Seminole Community College. Let's bring in Dr. Richard Weinblatt, manager of the Police Academy from Seminole Community College. He is joining us live right now in the newsroom. And Dr. Weinblatt, let's get some of your insight on kind of what's happened today. Obviously, this is a very emotional day for many people. This case has really gained huge national attention.
Oh, it's amazing, the national attention. The case itself isn't really that unusual for investigators and law enforcement people. What I tell people all the time is the unusual thing is the amount of media attention, not just in Central Florida, but nationally. So it's very unusual. But it's an emotional day, and it's a tough day for the Anthony family. I mean, all of our hearts go out, especially those of us that have children like myself.
You used to be a former police chief. Have you ever seen anything like this?
The case itself, yes. The media attention is kind of a new level there as far as the media attention. But the case itself isn't that unusual. I mean, you have situations where you have, hundreds, in this case, thousands of tips that come in, and they're followed up, and it's really like looking for a needle in a haystack. It doesn't surprise me that maybe things weren't found early on in August, the 11th, 12th, 13th, and it'll be interesting to see what the Sheriff's Office internal investigation of that produces.
Dr. Weinblatt, if I can ask you, right now the big question is with the trial coming up, can they find a fair and impartial jury? It seems like everyone who you talk to, I'm in the street and people come up and say, you have anything new on this case? I mean, everybody is interested, and you are innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, you are innocent until proven guilty, and you don't want to have a jury that's prejudiced, that has preconceived notions. Jose Baez and his team is going to look very carefully at that, as they should. That's their role. They're acting in Casey's best interest. But it's going to be hard. I mean, I get emails myself just from the media analysis. I get emails from all over the country and even overseas from people that are floating different theories and stuff like that. So it's obviously touched the hearts of people all over, even overseas. And it is going to be hard to find an impartial jury.
Dr. Weinblatt, what can we expect to happen next? Will they clear the crime scene now that the remains have been identified?
Assuming that they have found everything that they need to there. Remember, they're not just looking for the body itself or remnants of the body. They're also looking for other things, other trace evidence that may have been left by the suspect or suspects. And that area has a lot of garbage and other things strewn in that area. As we know, it's a neighborhood hangout for kids and stuff. So they got to sift through it, literally sift through what is usable material and what is not. So that's a hard one to say. Even though it's been identified, still doesn't mean that there isn't other evidence there at the scene that they still have yet to go through.
So a long way to go before there's actually closure.
It may actually be in terms of that closure, yes. In terms of closure for the Anthony family, unfortunately, I think they have at least one aspect to that.
Dr. Weinblatt, let's go through this again because Dr. G, the medical examiner, listed the cause of death as homicide by undetermined means, but they're also still waiting those toxicology reports. Can you kind of go into depth a little bit more about that, what that all means?
Right. Well, the problem that they have is, if you're going to try to find a cause of death when you have a skeletonized remains, which is what they had here, is you like to look for things such as tool marks, blunt trauma, cutting type of things, bullet wounds, stuff like that. In this case, they didn't find any of that. So now they're hoping that toxicology reports, specifically looking at the bone marrow, to see if things such as the chloroform that Casey so famously did her Google searches for, surface as a possible cause of death that can be more finite. And as Dr. G said, her death certificate that's being issued this afternoon can be amended later on as more information comes forth.
Dr. Weinblatt, in your honest opinion, do you think that Casey Anthony could be looking at the death penalty again?
I think absolutely the state's attorney's office could revisit it. And when you start looking at things like duct tape across the mouth and other things that would be certainly considered aggravating circumstances as opposed to mitigating circumstances, that absolutely, I'm sure the state's attorney's office is examining that, or they're examining all their options, as well they should. And I'm sure Jose Baez is looking at it from his perspective as well he should, because that's the role of our adversarial criminal justice system.
One can only imagine now, that Casey Anthony has been quiet all this time. We have not heard anything from her. And one has to wonder if now would be the time for her to say something.
I'm sure she's being advised by her attorney not to say anything. As well, he is advising her correctly from his perspective. I'm sure it's upsetting no matter what her involvement is or isn't for her. It has got to be an upsetting situation any which way you slice it.
Right. Dr. All right, Dr. Weinblatt giving us his opinion on what's going on. And